Hello, I'm Sarah from Sutton Schoolswork. Welcome to our Assemblies Online. Now, each week we're going to be bringing you a Bible story, a thought about what it means for Christians, a question or two for you to think about, and a fun activity for you to do as well. So are you sitting comfortably? Well, let's begin. Today we are going to be thinking about how small things can often make a great big difference. First, let's play a game. I'm going to show you a picture of something small and you have to guess what it turns into. So here we go. What does this turn into? That's right, an acorn turns into an oak tree. What about this? A pumpkin seed, of course, turns into a pumpkin. And finally, what does this turn into? That's right, it was frog spawn, which grows into frogs. At harvest time, we say thank you to God for the sunshine and for the rain, which helps tiny seeds grow into much, much bigger crops so that we have plenty of food to eat. Now, in today's Bible story, we're going to hear about somebody who gave all that he had, even though it was only something very small. But this small thing was able to make a big difference to a lot of people.
Jesus needed a holiday, and he knew that his disciples could do with a holiday too. Let's row over to the other side of the lake and find somewhere to camp, he said to his friends. As the boat skimmed over the water, leaving the crowds far behind, they all began to feel better. No more people pushing round us, laughed Peter, as the boat crunched onto a sandy shore. This place is just right for a holiday. Nothing but grass and birds. Well, they hardly had time to build their campfire before they spotted the people. Coming towards them along the beach were hundreds and hundreds of men and women, boys and girls. They must have seen Jesus slip away and then had dashed round the lakeside to catch up with him. One of the first to arrive was a little boy. He had been walking for hours because he was so desperate to see Jesus. He hadn't even had time to eat the food his mum had packed for his journey. "Oh no," grumbled Peter. "Send them away, Jesus. How can we have a holiday with all this lot around?" But Jesus could see how sad and worried most of those people were. They had come to him for help, and he couldn't just turn them away. Soon he was talking to everyone, helping them and cheering them all up. By evening, the little boy was still clutching his lunchbox. Jesus was such a good storyteller that he had forgotten to eat. But there were a lot of people in the crowd whose tummies were starting to rumble. "Jesus," said one of the disciples, "it's getting very late. These people should go home and have their dinner." But Jesus replied, "Why can't we feed them?" "How can we feed them?" asked the disciples. "We'd need 1,000 loaves of bread to feed this lot. There must be about 5,000 people here. We haven't got enough money to do that, and we certainly haven't got enough food." "Don't you worry about that," said Jesus. "Just see if you can find anyone who has any food to share." The disciples went off looking, and the little boy with the lunchbox went up to one of them and said, "I haven't got very much, but Jesus can have all of my lunch if he wants." They took the boy to Jesus, explaining to him that the boy wanted to share his lunch. Jesus took the lunchbox and looked inside. There were just 5 rolls and 2 little fish. Jesus looked at the boy and smiled at him kindly, saying, "That's wonderful. Perfect. just what we need. Thank you." That little boy would never ever forget what happened next. Jesus took the bread, thanked God for providing it, and broke it into pieces and handed it around. Then he did the same with the fish. The little boy could hardly believe his eyes. Somehow or other, Jesus took that little boy's small lunch and he used it to feed everyone in the whole crowd. The bread and fish never ran out. There was so much food that after everyone had eaten, there were 12 baskets of leftovers. As the happy, well-fed crowds walked home under the stars later that night, there was a little boy who had a big story to tell.
The boy in that story only had a little bit of lunch, just 5 small loaves of bread and 2 little fish. But in God's hands, it made a big difference. If we think about it, we can all be like that boy. A very famous person who some of you may have heard of, called Mother Teresa, once said these words: "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." We can all do small things that can make a big difference. Perhaps you could smile at someone who's looking sad. Listen to someone who needs a friend. Share your books and your toys with others. Encourage a friend who's having a tough time. You could help with jobs at home, maybe things like clearing the plates away after a meal, or tidying up your toys after you've had fun playing. Or you could give away the toys and clothes that you no longer need. There's so many small things that we can do. And Christians believe that whenever they give whatever small things they have to God, He will use them to make a big difference. We believe it's God who grows the acorns into oak trees and the frogs spawn into hopping frogs. It's amazing, isn't it? I wonder how much you remember from today's story. Well, it's question time. Why don't you pause the video between each question, have a think, write down or chat about your answers. What did the boy have in his lunchbox? How many people were still hungry after the boy shared his lunch? What small things can you do today to make a big difference? Now we've got an activity for you to do. It's a messy one, so make sure you do it outside where there is plenty of space, and you might get very sticky. You will need a bottle of cheap Coca-Cola and a packet of Mentos sweets. Now carefully unscrew the top of the Coke bottle, then put some Mentos into the Coke bottle, stand back and watch what happens. Let's have a look. Wow, I can't believe something so small as a Mentos sweet could make such a big difference to a bottle of fizzy drink. Do you remember the boy in today's story? He only had a small lunch, but when he chose to share it, it made a big difference to thousands of people. I wonder what small things you could do this week. Now this will be our last online assembly this term. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've had as much fun as we have. We're hoping to be back in Sutton Schools as soon as we can be, so we can see you all face to face. Until then, have a fantastic summer and we're seeing you soon. Bye!
Thank you for watching and bye!
Bye.
Bye!
And up, back.